This week's chapter of Black Clover really did serve as a transitioning to the new arc that we are going to be getting, and I really enjoyed seeing that because I just don't want to be thrown into an arc. I want the transitioning to be kind of smooth, even if that means, having a whole chapter dedicated to that transitioning, and that's really what we got in this week's chapter, because we even had this whole backstory of Lich and the others, I remember in the past arc, Lich was saying that the humans kind of betrayed them, and I think the backstory that we got is going to kind of tie into that in some sense. Not quite sure how yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be in some way related to the betrayal of the humans, But other than that, the chapter has mostly served, transitioning. We have all of the new Royal Knights assembling, and we even see some old faces and stuff like that as they prepare to raid the Midnight Sun's secret base. Now, one thing that we learned last chapter briefly was that Zora was actually part of the Black Bowls, but one thing that we really didn't know was, how did he join, when did he join, and apparently he joined a while back, as I sort of predicted in my last review, although I did some mistakes in that review, but let's forget about that. Anyway, so we learned that he came in through a back door, so to speak, and even Noelle came through a back door, which was quite interesting because we never really saw her join the squad, Like in the anime, we kind of saw her at the exam, but in manga that was never a thing, and that's kind of interesting if you ask me, because if we just go by the manga, we didn't really get anything on how she joined the squad, but this kind of brought some light to that as well. If Zora could join through a back door, well, why couldn't Noelle, right? And it was kind of confirmed that she did, because you did see this panel where it was pointing towards Noelle and it said joined through a back door as well. So there's other ways to join a squad other than the exam apparently, which is, I mean, I don't mind that. I guess it does sound kind of foul and cheaty in a way, but whatever floats your boat. I guess the captain is the ultimate factor in, who can join and who cannot. And as usually, the interaction between Zora and Asta is kind of, well, I guess it's kind of volatile, Asta and Zora. They don't really go hand in hand together, they just want to fight and mess around with each other, like we have Zora is throwing this stinky bug at Asta, but it doesn't really work. Asta just gets used to the smell, which is honestly kind of fucked up. But anyway, what I really want to talk about in this review is not their interaction, obviously. I want to talk about some other things. Like, one of the things was the robes that I got, because this is one thing that really, it didn't really piss me off, or even it wasn't really a negative thing in general, but I did feel like it was a cheap way of retaining Asta's character design, because, everyone gets the robes to go all the way down to the feet almost, and then there's Asta. His robe just goes, down to wherever his old robe was going, and they said that it was because they ran out of materials. Now, obviously we know deep inside that the reason wasn't because they ran out of materials, but because they needed to make sure Asta kept his character design. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one who has a problem with this, but as I said, I don't really mind it per se. I just feel like it was a bit cheap. The big thing for me, at least in this chapter, was when we saw Nozel Silva come into the chapter, because we have Lil and we have Leon as two captains in this whole squad, but then we have Nozel just jump into the fray, which I thought was quite amazing, because Nozel is one of my favorite captains in the story. Not quite the favorite, but he is one of them. I really like his way of fighting, his personality towards Noelle in particular, although it's a bit toxic, he's not really the nicest fellow around. He is definitely portraying what it is to be a royal towards peasants, and even towards Noelle, because back in the day she couldn't control her magic and whatnot. Obviously now she can, so we may get some interaction between Noelle and Nozel, which I really hope we do. Maybe he will learn to acknowledge her a little bit more, because of the fact that he probably saw what she did in the exam, She defeated her sister, I think it was, who claimed that she was just a nobody, and then Noelle just one-shotted her or some shit, with that dragon thingy. Then we have Nozel just commenting on Lil, because, Lil was actually joining through the exam, which Nozel kind of feels a bit sketchy about, I think, because he's like, why did you even participate in the exam? And I don't really know why he said that, to be honest. Like, I guess he didn't really feel right about a captain participating in an exam where everyone else was not a captain. Like, maybe he felt like it was a bit unfair, but at the same time she did lose against Yuno's team, so at the same time, was it really unfair? I don't think so. Just because you're a captain doesn't necessarily mean you're the top of the class. You could just be a captain because of something else. It doesn't necessarily have to do with your power power alone. Granted, his power is pretty fucking OP, but still. Now, the king's appearance was actually really interesting as well, and I'm talking about the actual king, not the wizard king. You know, the asshole king, the one who really portrays royalty better than anyone in this series. He's an asshole to pretty much anyone, and the moment he arrives and says, you know, don't bring disgrace to this nation or something, you see Sis Leone. She's kind of like trying to really motivate everyone to do their best. She's like, if you don't measure up, I will fucking kill you myself before you even get to set foot in the whole raid. Now, what I found particularly interesting about that is like it kind of feels like Sis Leone acted just because the king appeared. Not quite sure if that's the case, but it was really convenient that she did that right as the king appeared in the panel just before that, you know. Maybe she wanted to show the king that she has the situation under control and whatnot, even though she's not really a bitch, you know. She's actually a really good character. She likes to motivate people a lot, and the king may see that as a good thing when he appeared, you know, when she did that. I don't really know. I mean, he's an asshole, so you never really know what to expect from a king or something like that. It could be anything, really. He could take it, you know, in any possible way, because it's really hard to tell just how a royal member, especially in Black Clover, is going to react at something, because they could take it either in a positive way or they could take it in a negative way. It is impossible, and I mean impossible, to predict. Anyway, I think I'm going to end the review here, so let me know what you think down below in the comments, and as always, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new to my channel. This has been your favorite host, Perm, and I will see you next time.